AI is going to create the baseline, and more people are going to get these results, which are going to feel very generic, and that's exactly not what you want.
Meng is an expert at using AI to create stunning designs for websites and products that don't look like generic AI slop.
I like to think of AI more like a tool to augment you rather than doing everything for you. Because at the end of the day, we are human and we have human creativity. You want to use AI for 90% of the way, but the last 10% you should totally learn how. In about 6 months' time, we're going to be able to create beautiful website in the league of Dia, or this beautiful Comet landing page.
How do you start, man?
So,
all right. Welcome, everyone. My guest today is Meng, a designer and founder of Aura. Meng is an expert at using AI to create stunning designs for websites and products that don't look like generic AI slop. So really excited to have him walk us through his complete design workflow and share his best practices and prompts to create great designs with AI. Welcome, Meng.
Thank you so much, Peter, for inviting me. I think this is a really exciting time to create your own product, to generate designs with AI.
Awesome. So before we get into your kind of like expert advice, why don't we just like show how like a regular AI user might make a website, right? Like how does it just like with like a single line prompt? Do you have like an example of that?
Sure, that sounds great. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna share my screen. So typically, the goal is to create a website, and what is really popular right now is landing pages. I'm going to give you a really good example, which is, let's say, Dia, the browser, and also Perplexity, Comet. So we're going to look at these two examples because they represent where you want to reach at level 10. Of course, we all start at level 1, but it's good to know what the goals are, what are the differences, what should people look for in the end result. So in this case, you need to know your prompt. You need to know what to say. You need to know the vocabulary, and you need to know how it functions as a user, as a creator. So Dia, really popular, Comet as well from Perplexity. And these are products that I personally use. So that is also really great because when you use something, you know exactly what you want and what to look for. So you can see, we have a navigation, we have the Here section, you have the feature section where it's introducing the different features. And typical of a landing page, you're going to have a lot of sections like these that are showcasing the different features, the roadmap, but also the testimonials, what people say. And again, what is that you're looking for here is something a little bit more unique and less generic. So compared to something like, let's say, your first prompt on Aura, or your first prompt on, and by the way, I'm just doing the first prompt right here. So create a beautiful landing page for a new AI browser. And I'm going to do the same for all of these using the first prompt. Again, level 0, level 1, we're going to have something very generic. And each of them have their own flavor. From V0, you have something like this. And again, I'm not cheating. You can see it's all the same prompt. And then on Lovable, you're going to have something like this. You might notice a pattern here, right? You
Yeah, it's
have
definitely a pattern.
you have like Super Bowl titles, you have interfont, you have purple all the way. Sometimes it's a bit more generic, like a white background with very generic text and styling. These are the things that you're gonna start with. There's nothing wrong with it, but as we advance more and more, as millions of people, eventually billions of people create websites, right? AI is going to create the baseline, and more people are gonna get these results, which are gonna feel very generic, and that's exactly not what you want. Again, coming back to something like Comet, you can see they want to break that sort of like that problem, that genericness of design. And so you're looking for fonts, you're looking for interactions, animations, you're looking for beautiful buttons and backgrounds and beautiful images generated by AI. such as this background here or this video here, you want something for your website. And again, we're talking about level 10 here, but unless you have like a team of designers and you have a lot of time, you might not get there, but at least you can get some of these components done by AI. And that's kind of
Mhm.
what we're going to be looking for. And uh, yeah, like sound effects and animations and all that stuff. And eventually, again, this took me 5 minutes with Aura. Eventually, you want to get something a little bit more like this, where you have like a more custom font, right? Using customizations. You have like a beautiful background animation using Spline. This is a 3D animation. You have these beautiful images generated in Midjourney. And, and you want to do that really quickly because as a beginner, you don't have a ton of time learning all of these things that usually take 5 or 10 years of experience as a designer or as a coder. So that's the beauty of today is because we're kind of like compacting all of this knowledge within so little time, and we're kind of trying to pick up all of these amazing techniques that you can totally use for yourself. And yeah, that's kind of like what I'm teaching right now, and also hopefully what I can bring with tools like this.
And I think like building a landing page is one of the best ways to learn by doing and like actually ship something because it's like pretty straightforward and like you can kind of see the result of your impact and share with your friends, right? So it's like a great way to get started. But like how do you get from that level 0 to like even like a level 1 or 2, or like how do you start, man?
Right. So a lot of people don't realize that having a prompt is just not enough.
Mhm.
What you need more is resources, is examples and templates and references. So, for example, you can mention Perplexity, you can mention Dia, you can mention Apple, Linear, all of these amazing designs that usually AI have trained on. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. If you look at Midjourney, right? Um, the only reason why Midjourney got so good today it's because of all of these amazing photographers, amazing artists, and graphic designers. And that's going to be the same with today's, Lovable and V0 and web design. They
Mhm.
need examples. They need beautiful, um, you know, backgrounds and name dropping, and we're going to be doing a lot of glass now with liquid glass from Apple. So AI is going to be more and more trained with these things, and as a result, as you can see on my profile on Aura, these are all the designs that I have made and experimented. I have like 642, so quite a lot. And you're going to notice that there's an evolution to the design that I'm using, and that evolution comes from all the tools that I'm adding to Aura. So, for example, I just added the ability to get mid-journey images, and we're building our own library of mid-journey images. So, we're going to be able to quickly just change the images. So, again, as a reference point, and also all of these designs that I'm creating here, you can remix them and you can just adapt it to your product, whether it's a login screen or a full landing page or a hero section. So that is far more effective than what I just did, which is having just a single prompt. And then
Mhm.
we get to the customizations. um, but yeah, that's how I would start. And also, another thing is, even if you know how to prompt, and if you just want to prompt, you might want something to use something like a prompt builder. Now, a prompt builder is something that gives you a vocabulary, a lexicon of all the things that you can create. So, for example, do you want a hero section, a feature section? So, remember the landing page that I just showed, these are all the things that you can create, and not just what you can create, but also how it's laid out as a layout. And then, like blog or video, and the layout configuration you can have for some of these concepts like settings page. You can also be more creative in terms of the layout configuration, such as, do you want like a sidebar, do you want like a bento layout, and then the presentation, do you want a full screen, or you want a card, or you want a browser? So for more for presentation. And then eventually you get into the styling. So you want a flat layout, you want a glass, or eventually I'm going to add like liquid glass. You want light
Yeah.
mode, dark mode, primary colors, background colors, etc. And finally, we have the typeface, which is super, super important. Usually, AI likes to use the most basic one, which is Inter. And there's nothing wrong with Inter at all. It's just that if you don't try to be more creative, whether it's just customizations of the font weight or the letter spacing. So you're gonna need to kind of like go a little bit further. 10 years ago, everyone would be wow by a website using Inter because everyone was using like Arial and Times New Roman stuff like that. But
Yeah.
nowadays, everyone kind of like have their standards way above that, and they want something a little bit more unique. So you might want like a serif font or like instrument serif or stuff like that. And also you need to know a little bit about like, okay, do I want to have bigger font sizes, and I see a ton of website with giant font sizes. So you want to be creative with that, and without of course spending days or months on that specific design.
So this is all just building a text prompt, right? This is what it's doing. It's building a text prompt on the bottom
Correct.
right.
So all of these things that I'm clicking, it's adding to the list of prompt. I can add them one by one, but I can also add all of them at once. So
Mhm.
let me just pick something a little bit cooler. So let's say I want like a feature section and it's a bento layout. I want to be like a card and it's going to be a glass style. And maybe we're gonna go with that. Maybe we're gonna go with light mode, and we're gonna have these beautiful shadows large. So
Mhm.
let's hope for the best. And then we're going with a little bit of instrument serif, and then yeah, this is the full prompt from the prompt builder, and I'm gonna use Cloud 4. So O3 and Cloud 4 are really good. O3 is a little bit lazier, I would say, but it's a little bit more um, fine tune to like I think Claude is trying to always use these interf and then
Mhm.
purple and all that stuff. So it's a, can be a bit problematic, and but it definitely does more details and all that stuff. So you need to learn the nuances of both models and how it goes for your website, and experimenting with a lot with different prompts. I think a lot of people give up on the first one and they don't like what they see, and they stop after that. But I think that's a mistake. But as you can see here, it's quite interesting. I'm using first of all, we're the only tool that has live preview, right?
Mhm.
Otherwise you tend to have to wait for like 5 minutes or 10 minutes to get the first result. But you can see here, I'm specifically using this font here, which is called instrument serif. And I
Mhm.
asked for a bento layout. That's exactly what's giving me, which is quite nice. I also asked for like this beautiful drop shadow, which has three drop shadows. It's not like the normal drop shadow. And you know this is just one experiment. I could have gone with a different one. I could have gone with light mode and dark mode. But what I try to do with Aura is to make it super easy to just switch to different fonts. So if I want to go back to guys or man rope, and I can also go back to instrument, and
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
experimenting with all of these things, where usually you have to click one by one and then you have to ask AI. So I want to make it so that it's AI is not great at everything. First of all, there are some things that AI does badly, which is like, for example, you have to wait every time that you prompt. Sometimes the more complex your website is, the harder it's going to be to make it more consistent with the design, and to get to add detail. Sometimes you lose stuff that you have created before. So
Mhm.
that's why I want to pair it with actual you know uh, options that you can use and you can experiment with, such as the font weight, and also the spacing between the font and the font pairing and all of that stuff. But also to be able to change the color. So you want to light or dark mode. You want to try like different colors, you know. And again, it's just so much fun, and you can really like add a ton of flavors, and look at some of these images. You can see like it's
Yeah.
not the greatest images, which is why you want to go to something like assets, and then you want to change it, and then you want to go to unsplash. Maybe you want to use gradients and have beautiful noises. And also we're building, like I mentioned before, our own library using mid-journey generations that we have created. And these are some of the best generations that I have done. And so you can see, some of these images are going to really spice up and make your design so much more unique to look at. So
And when you're doing this, when you're changing the fonts and stuff and the images, you're just using like you're not using some LLM, right? You just change the CSS or something like you don't, right?
exactly. So keeping
Yeah.
in mind that all of Aura was built using AI. This is all of vibe coding, but you're right. I'm trying to not depend on AI to do everything, because usually, if you do depend on AI to do everything, it can take like 30 seconds, 1 minute, and all that stuff. So we still have a lot of
Hmm.
these customizations. Like in Figma, you can customize all of these things, but also we have the prompting. So for example, I click on this specific card and I can say dark mode. Again, I do have to wait for like, maybe 5, 10, 30 seconds. It needs to generate the code and it needs to place the code. And while this is great, it can create like really amazing and creative things. It's also
Yeah.
taking a lot of time, which is why sometimes it's just better to just experiment with this as a base, and then kind of like, you know, I like to think of AI more like a tool to augment you rather than doing everything for you. Because at the end of the day, we are human and we have human creativity, we have experience and memories, we have taste, and also we change constantly, which AI tends to have a hard time adapting to all of these changes. So yeah, this is taking quite a while. Sometimes it's the internet and all that stuff, but
Yeah.
eventually it's gonna get there.
Yeah. I like to think of AI as like a tool to get from like 0 to 50 or 80, but like it never gets it perfect. So you always want to do some manual tweaks afterwards. you know, but let's kind of recap what you did, right? So like, so starting from zero, you first step is to kind of like find some inspiration, right? Like either using the templates you have in Aura or like using the Comet website or something, find some inspiration. And the second step, it sounds
Correct.
like second step is to like you build this visual prompt builder to figure out what the fonts and stuff to use instead of me have to memorize everything through text. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can also adapt it from like the templates that we have. We have more than 1,500 at this point, so we're creating a lot. We're creating more every single day. But you
Yeah.
can see the preview of it, and I think this is definitely my most recommended way is to remix from existing templates or to provide the
Mhm.
code. You can also do like adapt from HTML, and then there's a bunch of websites like CodePen, for example, that allows you to explore different experimentations that people do, such as this one. Of course, this is just a random one, but it has the HTML. You copy this and you bring all of this code to a platform like Aura or Lovable. You paste this, and yeah, like you adapt this and you add it to your prompt. But yeah, keep in mind
Okay.
that some of these features, and the more you use, of course, you're going to need to have a subscription. I think ours are a little bit more generous in terms of like we give so much more prompt credits versus Lovable and V0. But the difference between Lovable and V0 and Aura is that Aura, we're more focused on design at this point. We're just one person. I'm the only person working on this product. I vibe coded from scratch. And yes, we I want to focus on the things that I think V0 and Aura and Lovable are
Yeah.
not as good as, in terms of, for example, customizations and font pairing and changing the colors using unsplash images or Aura
Yeah. I
mid-journey
mean,
images and all that stuff. So these are the nuances of the products.
before I knew that you built Aura, like I was playing with it, and I could just tell that it was built by like a designer. So
Thank
that's
you.
the difference, you know. But like, can we like go back to some, like for example, let's go back to the comment website, and let's say like I just want to like find out like what is the font that they're using or something. Like, is there a way to find that out, like inspect or something? Yeah,
I mean, I hope I haven't tried it to be honest. I think that's a really good point, but you can totally just
yeah.
take a screenshot and go to ChatGPT and ask for it.
and,
But
and just
with
ask for it.
most
Yeah.
designers, this is something that looks like a variant or a different one, comparable to instrument serif, which is the one that we use, um, I believe here, right? So when we ask for the first version, so we have, in Aura you have different versions as you create your design. So you can see we started with this one, and this is instrument serif, and it's this is a font that is starting to be really really popular. I think
Hmm.
Apple probably started that, if I remember, in their old designs, from the old days. But you know, it's kind of cool. It's getting really really popular now. And from that screenshot, you want to go to ChatGPT. I don't know if I have like um, private data in my ChatGPT, but
Okay.
hopefully
Okay. Yeah,
not.
we can do it next time. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, like you can totally bring,
Just ask. Yeah.
yeah, ask like, what is this font, and AI is pretty good at that. But yeah, you can
Okay.
also
And can
inspect.
we
But
go?
yeah, you can inspect, but I don't think a lot of people would want to inspect. Just the reason why is because it's more technical. I think sometimes you need to enable developer mode on your browser. In this case,
Hmm.
yes, inspect, and then also you have to read the code. So not everyone is comfortable with reading the code, but eventually, amidst all of these, you know, hundreds of stuff that you can scroll through, you're gonna find eventually the
The font.
font
Yeah.
name. Yeah,
Or you can maybe
there's
just paste into
also a bunch
ChatGPT and
of
ask it to.
CSS scan, for example. There are Chrome plugins
Hmm.
that allows you to do that, which is kind of cool. It's not free though, but you can certainly
Hmm.
find the font that is being used.
Okay. And let's go back to the website that you were showing. Like let's say I want to add like a testimonial section or something like the thing that is on the website. Like there's like a scrolling testimonials thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, that thing. Like how do I, should I just tell Aura to add it, or how do I add this
sure. So
or something like this?
again,
Yeah.
I think people tend to want to do these things from scratch, but
Yeah.
the way I see it is that you should totally browse templates. So, for example, testimonial, and
Hmm.
my internet is not super fast right now, but yeah. So you have like templates for testimonials, and then you can sort of like um, open each of them and see what you like, and then from there you can remix it, right? So if maybe you like something like this, maybe you don't want a background, so you can remix and can say something like without background, and then in light mode and stuff like that. And you know
Okay.
it's going to remix, it's going to use that. Yes, of course, you can create from scratch. You can use the prompt builder. You can also type all of that stuff. You can talk about the scrolling animation and all that stuff. It should also work. Again, it's a lot through experimentation. So you can see, we're building the testimonials, and yeah, it's live previewing all of this stuff, and it should get to a very similar result.
And if I want to add this section, because like if I use like a framework or like some regular website building tool, it's like section based, right? Like I can add a section here and like there. So if I want to add this AI generated section to my other website, like the other one that you built, you just copy the coding, or
Mhm.
how do I add it? Yeah.
So right now, it's in its current form at the moment. So it's keeping in mind that we've only released like 2 months ago. We're
Hmm.
not very focused on creating like a full website like framework yet. That will come soon,
Hmm.
but The way that I want people to use this is more creating like a section, a component, more like 21st dev, where we're creating components, we're vibing the design. Think of it more like Figma. Typically, yes, you can create like a full website using Figma, but most of the time you're spending like really honing and crafting one single component first, and then you ship that, and the way that people should work with Aura is specifically, you create these sections, and
Yep.
then you customize it really, really quickly. Maybe you want something again, Playfair, and maybe you want colors dark. And then finally, you export the code. So you copy the HTML, or you can also copy to Figma.
Hmm.
And then once you have that, then you can use something like Lovable. And then you can say something like, um, replace the testimonials in the style of this, and then you paste the code from Aura. So Lovable,
Okay.
V0 are just, and Cursor, of course, I use Cursor all the time, are way better than Aura for completing that website. The problem with
Hmm.
Lovable and V0 is just the styling and the design aspect, which is something that I really spend a lot of time on. So right now,
Hmm.
it's going to, replace the testimonial section using the styling that I just created in Aura. So for example, I really like this styling here. And
Yeah.
obviously I could also add a beautiful animation like this one. I mean, look at that, right? So,
Oh,
you
that's
know,
awesome. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. You can really, use a template one or the prompt builder, create something that you really like, that you saw on one of these websites like 21st dev or V0, or sorry, there's so many names I'm getting mixed up. And then you change the colors, the fonts, and the beautiful background and the Midjourney images and the avatar, because these things are super hard to do in Lovable. You wouldn't believe me, but you know even if you go to,
Hmm.
like, let's say, edit, and then you want, oh yeah, I want to change this icon, like, I have to ask AI for it, and it's just a ton of
Yeah.
trouble. I want to
It's
change this
dumb. Yeah.
background, I want to add this image. I can't. It's just very difficult. And so oftentimes what you want to do is, you design that in Figma, but in this case, because you don't have a ton of experience with design, you want to use something like Aura, and you use a template that's already made, and boom, 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 and then you bring it back to Lovable.
Yeah. That's brilliant. Yeah. I mean, but then you can. I mean, it's kind of annoying to bring it back levels. Maybe the next step for your product is to just like let people ship
Sorry, I
it.
think
Like
you're
let
cutting off here.
like maybe the next step for your like it's kind of annoying to bring it to Lovable each time, like the code. Even though I understand, but like so maybe the next step for Aura is just to let people just build and ship in Aura directly, right?
Absolutely. I think that's my goal. Like I said before, I'm vibe coding all of this stuff. I also have a strong focus on design, and I want to make sure that I'm not spreading myself thin, because a lot of these things are
Mm-hmm.
super technical that I have
Mm.
yet to learn, which is why I don't want to overextend myself. But yeah, totally, that is the end goal. Absolutely, if I can make it so that I can release a Framer's style site using just Aura, because at the end of the day, if you look at Framer, yes, most people, they cannot create like a full Comet product, of course, but they can totally create a landing page. And if we can
Yeah.
get that with Aura, then that's my ultimate goal. And we already have a ton of these options that you can see. We can change, we can edit the spacing, the padding, typography. We can embed video and all that stuff. Um, and then it's just going to get better over time, and eventually we're going to get to a full landing page, functional, at least up to the point of a Framer. For example, Framer, you're going to have a hard time building like a membership and a payment system and all that stuff, but totally you can build a bunch of simple pages, a landing page, a blog, and
Yeah.
components
Just get
and all that.
leads. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Um, can you quickly explain like this animation that you added in the background, right? Like what is like what kind of technology is that using? Is it using Spline or like how do you do it normally?
All right. This is a really cool thing on Spline. There's a lot of these new tools, such as Spline. You can go to community. There's also something called Rive and Lottie. Lottie files, Lottie
Okay.
animations, Lottie. There's a bunch of Lottie Lab. There's a bunch of them, and Spline has two ways. One is the 3D. So you have a lot of these beautiful animations and 3D. A lot of them are shared by the community that you can
Yeah.
totally just remix. Again, the same principle. The author has shared it, so that means you're free to remix it. And so, for example, if you really like this chain animation here, you can totally bring that to the background of one of the components or the full website if you want to. And what I try to do is to make it super easy in Aura to just, first of all, we have these presets here. So I brought a bunch of them. And of course, we're linking to the author, and the author has created a lot more of these. And
Yep.
you can see different animation that you can use for your background, and so you can bring that. So you can you can create a new one here. You can just add a spline background, and you can just add the custom URL. So let's say I really
Oh,
like
that's
this one,
perfect. Yeah.
right? And I'm going to remix it first.
Yeah.
um, if you don't have a premium account, so here you can see if I play this is all in 3D, by the way, so you can see it's a 3D program. And then finally, you're going to export this. It's going to generate the link that you can use. So you're going to copy this link. You don't want the logo, but again, you're going to need a premium account if you don't want to show the logo. The same principle with Framer. And then you're going to copy the link. You're going to
Hmm.
update the URL. And finally, I'm going to go back here, and I'm gonna paste the URL from Spline, and then yeah, there you go.
Oh, simple
You
as
have the
that.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's as simple as that. And again, I try to make these things super easy because as a designer, I really care about this. But try to do that with with Lovable and V0. It's not going to be simple because at the end of the day, like I said, these are okay. So I'm gonna just check if it managed to. Yeah, okay. So it did add, the as we spoke, it did add the testimonial that we created. And typically, the
Hmm.
way AI works is that it does adapt it. Okay, it does adapt the design to make it consistent to the existing design that you have in Lovable. So that is by design, and it's also good news because if you have an existing design in Lovable, for example, then you can just
Hmm.
create something like a layout. And of course, you can specify all of these things to AI. You can say, oh, keep this design or keep this font, but in general, if you don't say anything, it's going to adapt. So you can see it has exactly the same avatar, the same layout, the same text, but in my website in
Yeah.
Lovable.
But it didn't keep the font though. It went back to like the inter font. It seems like, like in
Yes,
Lovable.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, yeah, you have to mention these things. So I could have totally
Yeah.
just say, okay, I want you to update the entire landing page to the font in my HTML that I shared here.
Got it. As a final step, why don't we take a look at that AI website that you made?
All right, so going back to this design here, you can see that it only took me a single prompt, and the rest. So again, we start with something that is extremely generic.
Hmm.
Although, of course, I try to make it so that it does a little bit of animation. It does a little bit of like the font is not as bold, like the tightness and the styling. But even that, there's no silver bullet in terms of starting from a single prompt. AI will always create something a bit more generic. But from there, with the customizations, I simply did that, and then we have a second version, and now I changed the font, you know, and I use a spline background, and I also
Yeah.
use the Midjourney images. So here you can see, we can have like a abstract or something, which is very popular when you do a design, and You can have these beautiful 3D, or you can have these beautiful flowers, or these are, the way I see it is that AI has become so good with creating images, graphic designs, that
Mhm.
oftentimes, especially when it comes to using faces, so for example, portrait, um, they're even better than if you took it from Unsplash, which tends to be more generic. So for example, if I switch to Unsplash, you're gonna see, it's not that they're bad, but you know, uh, after 1,000 people use this on their website in testimonials, you don't, at some point you're kind of getting tired of it. So, you want
Yeah.
something a little bit more unique. So like this one, for example, generated by AI, or, maybe something high fashion, absolutely gorgeous, but generated like in 5 seconds using Midjourney. So this is the age in which we live in. We have access to all of these amazing tools, and we just need to make use of it.
So basically, like the steps you took to generate this website, like first step is just getting AI to generate something generic. But the real magic is actually using all the features you built in Aura to customize the font and the images and everything else. And that's like almost like not using AI, right? Other than the mid journey stuff, like
Exactly.
right? That's just like yeah, got it.
Well, it is using AI. So, for example, if you look at this button here, I could have
Yeah.
customized it manually, which maybe I will do this in the future, having a template of buttons. But you can also ask
Mhm.
AI. So, for example, I'm going to change this button right here, the watch demo. I'm going to go to prompt, and I'm going to go to a tool called UIverse. So here you have a bunch of button styles. And it's not going to be working for every single button, because some of them are more complex than other ones. But
Yeah.
let's say I want this one, and this one, you're kind of looking for a simple button like this one, because essentially you're just getting the style. So you just want the CSS. The CSS is going to be used as a code, as a template. So now I'm gonna go back to my design here, and I'm gonna just paste the style and apply. And if my internet is not bad, it's going to do that in about 30 seconds. So
Mhm.
yeah, there you go. So this is
Wow.
AI, right? And what I want to point out is that there are millions of ways to design something. Yes, you can use AI for everything, but the problem with relying only on AI is that if you make a mistake, you will give up, and you don't know what
Mhm.
else to do. You don't know how to get through, and how to overcome that struggle. So at some point, you're going to need to learn to do the 10% yourself. So I like to think that you want to use AI for 90% of the way, but the last 10% you should totally learn how to change the font, change the images, like start with a new button. Because if you don't do that, then your design is going to remain generic all the way. So, for example,
Yeah.
maybe I want to have this specific card in glass style. I can use AI, and but I can also you know uh, have my own collection of icons. And here I try to make it super easy to just change the icons, and you can see it even remembers the colors and all that stuff. I can change the color, but yeah,
Got it.
it's it's just different focus, different tools, and you should be aware of all of these tools and all of these things that can really
Yeah.
help you out.
Yeah, I'm learning a lot here. Like it's like knowing where to find the right resources for buttons or colors and stuff, and then learning to copy paste and coding, and then and obviously you build a great platform to make all this like because without all this stuff that you have built in Aura, it will take like a long time to apply the button style and do all this stuff, right? It's just a pain in the ass. So so it's good that you made it a lot easier. Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing to keep in mind that is that we are still in the early stage of AI. So only a few months ago, I would say maybe 5 6 months, that AI started getting really good at generating
Mhm.
code, or even designs using code. Uh, if you remember, like Claude 3.5 was not very good at generating designs, HTML and beautiful designs. So you can imagine that in about 6 months' time, we're going to be able to create beautiful website in the league of Dia or this beautiful Comet landing page, I'm not saying we're gonna
Yeah.
get there to level 10, but at least right now, if you think of right now is level 1 and 3.5 is level 0, then this, we can certainly get to level 5 in about 6 months' time. So that's the exciting part. And our tools need to evolve, our knowledge need to evolve over time.
Just to wrap up, do you have any like closing words of advice for the product designers out there, or even like the PMs? Like, design has really evolved over the past few years. Like, and now everyone has these like AI assistants to help them. Like, any kind of good words of advice for people to get started doing this stuff? Yeah.
Sure. My word of advice is to use all the tools that are available to you, and to only use the best of the best ones,
Mhm.
because we're going to be flooded, literally flooded with so many AI tools. And there's a lot of people talking about AI tools on Twitter and LinkedIn, and it's very very hard to see what each is good at or not. But what I would say is that build a sense of taste and a sense of like knowing what is good and what is bad, because taste is the differentiator in the new age, right? Knowing
Mhm.
what to use, like, okay, should you use Comet or Dia, like which one is better and for what reason are they better? Should you use Aura or should you use Lovable? Which one is better and what about them is better for what part of it, of the design process? The same with Figma
Yeah.
Make, the same with Figma versus Framer. So like knowing all of these stuff, and also Mid Journey, for example, should you use Mid Journey or should you use VO or all the stable diffusion, uh, like knowing the nuances, but also try them yourself, create beautiful results, be happy with it, and like knowing just the fact that Aura has these beautiful templates, or that
Yeah.
Spline has these amazing uh, you know uh, community templates that you can remix. I think that's amazing knowledge that you can sort of add to your arsenal of tools. So yeah, like some of my favorite tools, for buttons, for example, and UI and cards, UIverse for components um, and designs and animations and stuff like that. I think 21st Dev and Aura is really good, and React Bits also is a super nice library of beautiful background animations and and textures and animations, interactions. And
Mhm.
also another thing that you can certainly do a lot is to take screenshot and create a website or a design. Instead of just doing a single prompt, you're gonna want to take inspiration from your favorite websites such as Dribble, and feed that to AI, whether it's Lovable or V0. And keep in mind that everything that you see in Aura is free. So all of these templates that you see right here, I share the code for free. You don't need to be a
Mhm.
paying member for that. So like for example, you really like this landing page that I created and these beautiful images. You can just go here and export, copy the code, save the HTML file, and as I show you, I did show you earlier, is bring this code to Lovable Visual Cursor, and then just create your website based on that, and just say something like in the style of this landing page or this
Yeah.
code, and AI is going to iterate, and then yeah, find what works for you and what doesn't work for you, and eventually you're gonna get to a point where, wow, I can't imagine like a future where I don't use AI.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's like, so my takeaway is like, there's a lot of great designers who have a lot of great components out there, a lot of free resources you should use, copy the code from, and like don't be satisfied with like the inter chassis and AI stuff that's like default. Just like try something better. Yeah.
Exactly.
So where can people find Aura, and where can people follow you?
Sure. You can find Aura is aura.build.
Mhm.
And here again, you have free prompts. You also have these free templates that you can use. You can try the prompt builder. Yes, it is a paid feature, but you can still play with it. This is free. You can play with it. You can get the vocabulary and learn how to prompt, which is really important. And
Yeah.
then you can also find me on Twitter. So Twitter, well, X now. So Meng, And
Yep.
here I share so many hours. I think I have like 4 hours of training on prompting. So these are videos that are free. I also have a YouTube channel, Design Code Team, where you can find the same videos. And yeah, like if you have any questions, just send them my way, and I'm happy to help you out through this experience.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much, man. You know, man, I'm not sure if you noticed, I was doing some research for our interview and searching my emails. I realized I purchased like one of your design code courses or materials like 4 or 5 years ago. So you've been, you've been teaching this stuff for a long time. So, you know, really appreciate you helping everyone level up their design and like the work that they produce.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Peter. And obviously, as someone who now lives in Singapore, doing everything alone, and I think a lot of people are starting to do that, right? They don't want to go to these jobs, and at the risk of being fired just because AI, like a new AI tools comes out. You start
Yeah.
your own thing, you build your own website, your own product, you do your own design, and we're the small guys, we're the small creators, and we need to collaborate. We need to come together and sort of learn together and build the next Figma, the next Lovable, the next Photoshop. And
Mhm.
I think it's really exciting, and we can just live anywhere you want. Have the life that you want, the freedom that you want, and I think it's a beautiful future.
I totally agree.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
All right, man. Thanks so much.